told to me. But
Tall, more tall.
short to me.
We all know that the most controversial star of 90 Day Fiancé is Edward Allen Brown, whom we normally know as Big Ed. While many viewers of the show were thrilled or entertained by his antics, his weird nature and others were disturbed by the way he treated his potential fiancé. So, whether you love him or love to hate him, here is the shady untold truth about 90 Day Fiancé's Big Ed that the show might haven't shared with the viewers. Let's roll. Well, before going to talk about the shady untold truth related to Big Ed, let's get the facts straight that why Big Ed is highly controversial. What literally made them to be in the red headlines all the time, among all the other some sketchy notable cast members of the 90 Day Fiancé franchise series, who has been featuring contestants since its premiere in 2014. The most controversial star who has created all the controversies being in the show and who remained majorly highlighted even after the season 4 ended is Big Ed Brown. He came on the show alongside his then fiancée, Rosemary Vida. The relationship they shared on the show added extra spice and salt in his journey, because their bond was nothing but a twisty roller coaster ride. By the way, I have learned as a viewer that the huge number of the fans of this series can't really forget or ignore Big Ed. Well, if you ask me then, it's all due to the weird and clingy behavior he had shown to Rose Viga while being a part of the show. Not just that, let me add that despite his behavior towards Rose, this particular 90-day stubborn contestant, Big Ed, became quite controversial after seeking attention from the fans by doing some sort of notorious things during his whole journey on 90 Days Fiancé. The very first and most jaw-dropping act he did was the mayonnaise hair mask. By the way, he is still famous for his mayonnaise hair treatments because no one could ever think of someone to do something like that on the national TV. Yeah, of course. Not only this, he also showed some of his insecure, childish, cringe nature, which has skyrocketed his popularity, even among those who had never watched the show. I mean, it's huge. He had been so weird and made Rosemary feel totally awkward in his presence on the show because of his baseless, non-serious, and pathetic complaints that could have been ignored or neglected as they were meaningless. I mean, who asked his partner to shave their legs in front of a national TV audience because you don't like legs that way? Pathetic. Not only this, Big Ed even had put his ex-fiancé's family down in front of camera and crew members for like God knows how many times. He has shown so many bad sides of his personality, as he was caught lying to her about things which made her upset and whatnot. Because of all such acts of his, Big Ed remained in the highlights of the show. Some say that he does all that to get fame. Well, what's your take on it? By the way, from the very start of his relationship on the show, it remained quite obvious that he hadn't seen making little efforts to get to know about his fiancé's nature and culture. Because Rosemary, who is also known as Rose, is actually from the Philippines, and he didn't know about her mother language and started speaking with her in Spanish. Especially when the two of them meet for the first time at the airport to be united after a long-awaited meeting. But the fact is that she was completely able to understand English and Big Ed doesn't know about it, being a lovey-dovey boyfriend. But this isn't the fun part of the story. Actually, her native language isn't Spanish but Tagalog. I mean, isn't it a biggest blunder that Big Ed has done? Not just that, he even thought that she might have an imperfect ability to comprehend the English language and even took it as a sign of her low intelligence. What a shame. So therefore, he started talking to her as though she were a child who couldn't understand whatever he was about to say, especially when he was describing the vasectomy procedure that he had. He uttered "it's a snip snip" and used gestures of scissors. Wow. Reason why they split up. By the way, the valid reasons which literally made them cancel their relationship and made them the most controversial actually when Big Ed Brown started showing a tendency to be bossy around Rosemary, and in short, told her that she should brush her teeth more often and use mouthwash as her breath isn't fresh, shave her legs, and that she should go get tested for venereal diseases to know she hasn't got any sort of STD sort of diseases from her past relationship. What a red flag. If I were in Rosemary's place, I would slap him straight for even showing an audacity for asking such a baseless question from the person who he wanted to marry. I mean, what? By the way, all this nonsense blossomed when, however, Big Ed went to Rose Vida's place to meet her for the first time, where tensions between them started. visit to the Philippines. Among TLC viewers, 90 Day Fiancé's Big Ed, real name Edward Brown, became a big topic because of his quest to find love with Rosemary Vega, a woman who is 31 years younger than her, belongs to the Philippines. However, as we all know that Ed repeatedly shared on the show how eagerly he wants to win Rose's heart. But during his visit to Rose's country, his actions suggested otherwise. As I have discussed earlier, not only did the California native bring up Rose's supposed bad breath, to which she replied by claiming it was the result of a stomach ulcer, and he also critically pointed out her unshaved legs. Do you know the icing on the cake? During a visit with Rose's family, he left quite early and didn't even take the opportunity to bond with her beloved son, Prince. Now let's get back to Shady Untold Truth. Although all the slights that have been discussed were bad enough, there was something more that Rose received as another blow, especially when Ed confessed in front of her that he doesn't want more kids. This news came as a blast, because she didn't know about it beforehand, and this admission literally broke Rose's heart. Because of course, she has a long life ahead, and as she had openly expressed her wish to have more kids in her life. So, when she confronted Ed, he said, "I've raised a daughter. You know, she's 29 and it was a wonderful experience. But having more kids is not something that I want." After this incident, most of the fans sided with Rose to call off her relationship and break up with Ed, because that was the time it was confirmed that she wasn't with him for money. Despite the fact that she belongs to a poor family, and she is a single mother. Hats off Rose for standing for the right. Fans even criticized Ed for what they perceived as shady behavior. Since then, more questionable and suspicious info about his life that has been uncovered, which includes accusations of sexual assault. Yeah, it must be a shock to you, but God knows what it is. Actually, a woman known as Lordaki on social media, whose real name is Lorelei Clemens, accused Big Ed that when she interned at his workplace, he sexually assaulted her. During a May 2020 interview with Daily Soap Dish, Clemens addressed her claims and alleged that a lot of the harassment that he did was verbal, through texts and even in the office. Even this San Diego resident also has a profile on TikTok application, on which she addressed her allegations in a series of TikTok videos. She stated about Ed's appearance on 90 Day Fiancé in one of her videos that the moment of finding out the guy who sexually harassed me for 9 months has moved on to his next victim. Not just this, she alleged. He was grooming me, and you know when you're being groomed, it's really hard to know you're being manipulated. So, it progressively got worse. By the end of it, I ended up in the hospital from an incident that happened with him, and I ended up having a lot of health issues from it. This was about 4 years ago, so I've been still trying to heal myself since that incident, and even shared that she has this MO for going for vulnerable younger women. At the time I was 24, about the age of Rosemary Vega, and at the age where you're really trying to figure out what is going on in the world, and you're not quite sure how to handle situations like this. Regarding her sexual assault allegations with Ed Brown, she noted that she has signed a non-disclosure agreement with a third party. So due to that, there's quite a limited amount of information that she can share publicly. Although, it can easily be seen that Clemens is doing all her best, so she could be a great source to raise awareness about her concerns just in a hope of helping other survivors. In her interview with the Daily Soap Dish, she told them, "I took a couple of months to kind of meditate and really figure out if I wanted to take that step forward. With that being said, I really felt that it was important that I come forward even if there was a lot of backlash from people." According to her, she just wanted to set an example for such victims who have gone through just like her in her workplace or whatsoever they don't feel like they can come forward. But despite all these allegations, Ed hasn't addressed Clemens' claims against him as of early June 2020. In fact, he has been seen just a bit more vocal about his breakup with Rosemary Vega. However, during their time together in the Philippines, the former couple didn't see eye to eye, with the two splitting up by the end of their vacation. Since filming, Rose's bad feelings about her ex haven't gone away, as you can even claim that by a video she made in April 2020 that was reposted by blogger John Yates. "Please people don't believe him, it's fake. He doesn't really care about me. He is just out to be famous, that's why he's doing that. He did not even give me a penny. It's all lies." In May 2020, as for Big Ed, He took to Instagram to tell fans that he's really happy after his breakup. Well, that's all guys for today, with the shady untold truth about 90 Day Fiancé's Big Ed. Thanks for watching the video. And if you guys found it interesting, I would much appreciate it if you comment down below.